Welcome to WooCommerce Live. This is episode 1 of season 3. I'm Jonathan Wold. I lead community initiatives here at WooCommerce, and with me is my co-host, Nöelle Steegs. She's a developer and a volunteer here in the WooCommerce community. Good to see you, Nöelle.
Good to see you too, Jonathan.
So at WooCommerce, we're on a mission that we call democratizing commerce. That's the work that we're working to do, which for us means making e-commerce more accessible. And we do that through education, through great open source software, and through community. And WooCommerce Live is a show that we've designed to help you start and grow your e-commerce business. With each episode, our hope is to inspire you with what's possible. We want to empower you to take that inspiration and move into action, and then do all of that in a way that makes it taking action as easy as possible. We want to keep making things easier for you. We're kicking off season 3 of WooCommerce Live with one of our favorite topics, which is website reviews. We are going to take a look at some of the e-commerce sites that you've been making and share our feedback. We're going to be nice as we do that. Now, if you have a site that you'd like us to take a look at, you can go ahead and leave a comment now with the link to your site. We've already had someone submitted that we're going to start out with, and it's not too late, though, to add one in, unless you're watching the recording, in which case it is too late. With that, so Nöelle, what we like to start off with looking at some of the wins that have happened in the community, and what are some of the wins that we have to celebrate in the community today?
Yeah, so I'd actually like to take this opportunity to put the spotlight of 2 of our community members who are a member of our Facebook group. And the first one is David Kingsman. He's one of our moderators, and he's approved over 1,000 members in the past month. So wow. David, if you're hearing this, thanks so much for your hard work. That's really awesome. And the second one is Rudolf Ladezinski. He is what's called the conversation starter. So he's been really active. He's joined the community in the past month, and he's been really active. And I've seen that he uses the community to, post questions about how to make his website better, how to troubleshoot things. And I noticed that he words his questions really well. And what that does is that if your questions are worded well and you include things like what you have and haven't tried and things like that, and like your claim, your description, then the likeliness that somebody from the community will take time to answer your question is a lot higher. So that's a great example of how to do that.
That's awesome. And the Facebook community, for those of you who don't know, it's grown quite large over especially the past year. We're coming up on 40,000 members here fairly soon, and it's a fantastic group of folks. I personally am not a huge fan of Facebook. However, the group is amazing. So when I do spend time there, I'm spending time in the group. And there's a bunch of fantastic folks who are answering questions. And also, we are always looking for more folks who are interested in being part of the volunteer team who does that. Anna will drop a link in chat, and we'll have a link in the show notes afterwards if anyone's interested in being a part of that. All right, so this is a fun topic. I'm excited to jump into it, and we're going to be talking about, so we're going to get to the website reviews in just a few minutes, but we're going to start out by just giving a little bit of context, no pun intended, as you'll see in a moment, for what we look at when we're looking at sites. Like, how do you know if an e-commerce site is successful or not? We want your sites to be as successful as possible. So our hope today is to give you a little bit of like some guidance to start out with, and then we're going to look at actual examples that you guys have shared and do that. So let's go ahead and jump into that. I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. Okay, so there are what we call the 3 C's of a successful online store, like an e-commerce website. And let's just jump right to it. The first C that we care about is context. And is that showing through? There we go. Whoa. Why is that? Hold on. And we got it working now. The first C is context. And the idea is that when you go to a site for the first time, you want to know that you're in the right place, right? So if someone comes to your website and you're selling fish bowls, but there's pictures of dogs, people are going to probably be confused, right? And this is something that's super basic, but people often sort of take for granted. When they go to a website, you have a few seconds to make an initial impression. And what kind of impression are you going to make? Are you sending a message to folks that's like, yes, you're in the right place? And there typically is a few ways you do this. There's often the name of your business, the logo, the first image you have on the screen, or the headline. Those are all ways that you can convey context. Context is the first thing we want to make sure that's right. When someone hits a page on your site, whether the home page or any other page, you want them to have this sense that they're in the right place. Nöelle, you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, so the next one to talk about is credibility. And credibility is all about making visitors feel that they can trust you, because people like to buy from somebody they know, like, and trust. And that is really true. It's about them feeling like you can help them, right? What's really important is to let others establish your credibility, rather than you trying to establish your credibility. Because what can happen then, if you write that, you know, your company is fantastic and you do a lot of good, there's people who will read that, eye roll, and that's about that.
Yeah.
Well, if it's other people talking about you, it's like a recommendation. So it has tremendous power, really. And there's quite a few things you can do on your website to establish that credibility. One of my favorite is testimonials. And I would always say embedding them, say through a plugin, is better than just posting them yourself, because people know that you can't edit these embeds, right? They are truly what these people have said.
Yep.
So you can embed things like Google reviews or Facebook reviews, Yelp reviews, things like that. You can use photos, so quality product photos, but also photos behind the scenes of your team that shows that, you know, you're human and you're real and you're genuine, you know, and you show a little bit more of than what people just see initially. You can use videos as well. So, you know, say you can show how the product is used, how it's made. You can do a bit behind the scenes, maybe how you pack your parcels. You can display star ratings as well. And then one that's very important as well is things like badges and awards and certificates. So, you know, if you're a therapist and you're doing online consultations, if you have joined certain associations, you know, display those logos so that people know, like, hey, this is somebody that I can trust. If your product has won a design award, by all means showcase that. You know, that's really amazing, and that should be quite prominent. Also things like mentions in the press, magazines, newspaper, but also blogs, you know, definitely great to showcase them and let people see what good other people talk about your company. I also want to chat about performance. Performance is more indirect, but it's so important to make sure that your website is error-free, because if people reach a page that looks broken or doesn't have a SSL, like security certificate, then people might be hesitant, especially if they're making online payments. You know, they're putting their credit card details and they want to make sure that it is safe. And you want to make sure your website is fast as well. You know, if your site loads slow, you're gonna quickly lose the attention, and people might have the impression like, oh, okay, this person maybe doesn't care that much about it, or whatever they fill in, you know, because they don't know. So people naturally fill in those things. And lastly is design. So a good design can boost your credibility. A bad design can hurt it. You know, we don't all have to have this super spanking new tight looking website. But if it looks like it's something from the 90s, then you might want to update that. Awesome. So yeah, there are quite a lot of ways to establish that credibility. I hope those points are useful. Now over to Jonathan for the last C of the 3 C's, which is call to action.
Thank you. So with the So one of the things we talked a lot about in last season is this journey from idea to first customer, right? And the importance of choosing an audience. So context is all about that, connecting with that audience, right? So that when they hit your site, they know they're in the right place. Credibility that Nöelle talked about is all about like establishing that trust. Where a lot of people seem to drop off is this last C, like having a very clear call to action. When someone goes to the site, offer them a guided path. Like, what should they do next? Is there a featured product? Do you want them to join your mailing list to get a special offer? What is it? What do you want them to do? And we tend to see like two spectrums here. Either folks are offering way too many calls to action and it's just sort of all over the board, or they don't offer any at all. Like I've seen sites where it's like, okay, there's like the about pages on the homepage and there's no next step suggested. People are just left to go to the menu. So there's a lot you can do here. And as you listen to what Nöelle was describing, there's a whole lot you can do on the credibility front alone. But if you keep these three things in mind, does your site have a clear context? Is there credibility? Can people trust it? Are you making it easier for them to trust it? And are there clear calls to actions where you're guiding your audience into the step that you intend for them to take? Awesome. All right. So now we're going to jump into actually doing some reviews of sites. Let me just pull off the screen here and get it ready. Now, a couple notes about this. So we love all the stuff that you guys are doing. Like it's awesome to see these sites up and running. And so we can't say enough in terms of positive, encouraging. Like one of the things that's just awesome about working on your site is that it's yours, right? And it's a work in progress. So we're going to give candid feedback because we want to see them get better. Our intent, though, is to inspire you with new ideas and then just help guide you on the path to making it better. So thank you for those of you who were courageous enough to offer your sites for review. We'll be gentle. And then let's jump into it. So the first one that we've got on our list was shared on the Meetup group. And let me pull this up here. And here we go. So for this one, we are actually switching languages for just a moment. This is a site that's in Spanish, which I thought was great. And when I first get to it, so it's clear it's a bigger site. This definitely gives me an industrial feel that would immediately send this message to me that it's not for a consumer. So if that's the intention, we're on a good track, right? I noticed that it loaded quickly, which is good on the credibility front. Good images of products. I presume my Spanish is respectable, but it's showing the different brands there. It's showing new services. And then if you click over into the product space, you can see the different products there. The site's loading pretty quickly. I like that. What do you think about this one, Nöelle?
I really like the WhatsApp bubble that pops up in the bottom right because it's such a quick way, if you're looking for help, it's such a quick way to connect. And it's very friendly to the merchant as well, or to, whoever will manage the, the WhatsApp, because it's like you can do it anytime, on the go. It's very easy, very user-friendly way of connecting with people.
I like that too. Any suggestions we think of for improvement? So to me, the audience seems fairly clear. This is like who are we? And then it gives a little about, and you want to know more, you can go there. I like the loading time clear. Like I like having calls to action at the bottom. That's a nice touch where there's a form they can fill out. And when they get to the bottom, there's an action that they can take. This is a really good starting point. One thing I'm curious about, doesn't look like they have online purchasing. Basically, the process is to request, which is a great example of, you don't need to take payment on a site. But that might be something that they could look into in the future, is even if it's for wholesale, there's a process that you can create where they could still the checkout online. That might be something to explore in terms of improving the user experience. But overall, I think quite positive. Any other suggestions on your part, or should we switch to the next one?
I really like the idea of doing like a wholesale thing. And it will, and it won't only be friendlier to the customers because they can take action right away, but it will also be good for the company because, over time it will take it will take a bit of a load off, in terms of answering emails and handling that process manually. So maybe something to consider.
Yeah, and I think the last point, so I've seen a number of wholesale sites. I think in general, when you have a wholesale audience like that, or you're working with like in a less of a consumer focus, right? You can quote unquote get away with more in terms of the experience because the audience tends to have already been like, they kind of know you, they're going to the site. The site's more like service oriented, but there's a lot of opportunity to create even better experiences for them. And that would be, a form is a great starting point, but you might create, and maybe it's here and we just don't see it, but you might create an even better, like a cart building experience where they could get a bunch of items and send it there. All right, let's jump into the next one. So this one is interesting. Evidentia is the first thing I see. And so my first clue about what this is actually down here. Evidentia genealogy software. Okay, so we know what that is. I do like, so it's definitely guiding me towards an option. So let's see what happens here. So I click on this, and it takes me to this product. So it's digital. My first question was it going to work on my computer? So I like that it calls that out. That might even be something to move down here and use like logos to make it stand out even more clearly that it works across the platforms. Or you can get a CD-ROM. Nice. What do you think about this one, Nöelle?
So because I'm obviously not in the industry, I'm assuming that people who are in the industry and who will land on that and see the keywords, they make the connection. But for me, not being in that industry, it was at first a bit hard to understand of who is this company and what exactly do they do.
Yep.
So I think a little bit more context could maybe be helpful. But for the rest, I mean, the product setup is clear. Like you said, like I do think the logo should can be added on the product page for the platforms, because you want people, because people don't spend a lot of time on a page, right? They need to see something in kind of like almost like a bullet list, not a literal bullet list, but they need to be able to scan over the page and have questions answered as quickly as possible. So I think a logo is very recognizable rather than using the words.
So jumping into some specific things, I'd like to see a headline up here, like where a tagline that made it clear, like what it is, Evidentia, so like genealogy software or genealogy services, like whatever it is, where it makes it a little bit clearer up in the title, like what the site is. I think this design elements are certainly helpful in indicating that. There's also, you talked about credibility. It could be great to have some testimonials like on the page and draw some experiences that others have had with the software. So
yeah. And also in the credibility area, what would be interesting to see is maybe some like screenshots or mock-ups of the software, because that also makes people people feel like, okay, this is genuine, this is a real thing, okay, this is what it looks like, okay, well, that looks like a neatly organized interface or whatever they might be thinking. I think that could be useful on this product page.
And last thing I've got on the shop here, I think there's a good opportunity here to just clean up some typography and layout. And it can be a little bit challenging sometimes to fine tune it the way that you want. But like this is super small. It's not like, I do like that there's at least this banner that you're kind of guiding folks, and I'd be curious to see how this works on mobile. But anyway, good starting points, and good to see the details there. It feels like it's more in a let's refine the details further type of stage. All right, jump to the next one. We're going back to Spanish for a moment. Ooh, look at that. We've got some beautiful photos. That switches a little bit fast. I'd like to probably see that rotator not being so aggressive.
It looks so fresh and tasty, like you want that plate right in front of you right now,
Yeah.
I think the photos are very done, but yeah, if they could linger a little bit longer, that would be great. For me, right off the bat, when I see this website, is what would be a really, because I see it's a multi-language website, right? And right now we're seeing the Spanish version. But what you can actually do is you can use a feature that's called geolocation, and you can detect where somebody's IP is and serve a language based on that. So it would be more user-friendly if I would land on the site and it would display in English right away.
Yep.
So then somebody has to take one last extra step and then just focus on the delicious food and the call to action that's laid over that, all the information that's.
I'm going to pick on this one a little bit. I don't like that cutting board photo, like the second one, because you've got all this great food, but this one here so the rotator is it's fast. I would slow that down, but I'd probably just drop that second one out in favor of just showing food. Like that's a great food shot. And
yeah, I agree. It's better to show like fewer photos, but your very best ones, I think.
Yep. Excellent. Okay, but man, this is making me hungry. So let's look. So we have this. I like that they've laid out the steps here. I'd love to see the whole thing actually be clickable. Oh, it looks like it might be partially. Okay, the image is clickable, but then that's not. Let's see what happens here. Nice. So it takes you into, okay, nice. Now we're into a shop, and you can add things to your cart right from this page. That's great.
I think it's very handy how the filter stays sticky while you scroll down the page.
Yeah, I like that too. And I want to get some desserts. And over here, I would like to, so you want it to jump back up when you click on desserts. That would be a nicer experience there. And now let's see what happens. Nice. And let's check out. And a good, like, kind of all in one. I like that. It doesn't appear that they have a payment integration currently, which might just be a choice that they've made. So there's either direct bank transfer or without delivery. One little gotcha here, string translation can be tricky. It looks like this message has not been translated for English just yet. So I want to grab that one. That can be a little bit tricky depending on which plugin you're using. But yeah, nice. Any other thoughts that you got for this one?
Just one little thing that I want to add is, say when you're on the homepage, then the home link is this light green, and it's quite low contrast in the menu. So it's quite low contrast with the white. People might struggle to read that. And I've seen some other elements on the site where the light green, I mean, though it looks very fresh, it's not as readable. And I'm finding the same with the typography a bit when you are on the shop page and you see the product titles, because of the thinness of the font and the way how the letters are positioned quite closely together. Yep. I find it a bit more difficult to read than what it could be. So that's something that could be tweaked for a better user experience.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, typography is one of those things that you can go so far with just sort of working on typography. It can be a little bit mind-numbing, but there's so much gain to be had by just making sure things are well readable. All right, let's jump to our next one. We've got Wine Monkey. All right, whoa. Okay, we got a lot going on here. I am over 18. Yes. Oh, come on.
That was the first thing that I wanted to say about this. I mean, other than that, the website is really beautiful, and you guys will see that in a moment. But it's the first impression that you have is this pop-up, and I understand it's necessary. However, it shouldn't be that difficult to click the checkbox. I would make the checkbox bigger, and the label that says, yes, I'm over 18, you can make that clickable as well. So that, especially on mobile, it's just easier to just tap and go, because you want people to enter your website as quickly as possible, right? So just want to make that real easy.
A few other things here too. I would probably delay the privacy. Well, so we have a little bit of I would certainly not show this up here. And right now it's actually not clickable at all, because I think this is probably up here. Anyway, it's got a couple of like conflicting scripts. Let me see if I can refresh it. This did work earlier. Okay, so I can accept that. Wow, okay. Let's see if we can go to another page. It's kind of locking up right now. Agreed, like a beautiful site. I like the design. I like we have craft wines. It's sort of clear what it is. You can, and there's also this plug for like sustainability as part of like the message and the audience focus. And I presume if the rest was working that we would be able to kind of go through this flow. I'll pick on one other thing here. So if on the homepage, when you scroll down, so I like that there's context here for Brian and self as the wine monkey. You probably want a stronger call to action at the end, since this is presumably a site where you can make a purchase. Right now, that final call to action is like, leave us and go to our Facebook page or see us on Instagram, where you probably want to keep them sort of on the site. So unfortunately, I can't get the rest of it working right now. So I would suggest looking into that from a user experience perspective. Sometimes when it's your own site, you won't be used to seeing what other people are seeing on first load. So one good strategy for all of you guys to keep in mind is to open your site in an incognito window in a browser, so that you see what it looks like when the site thinks that you're a new visitor. So, okay, cool. So let's go ahead and move towards wrapping up. So we've been talking about the 3 C's, and these are some examples that we've gone through of each of them, right? You want to, as you're working on your site, you want to have that clear context when people get to the site, that they're in the right place, that it matches the audience that you chose, that you're focusing on serving. You want to make sure that you optimize for as much credibility as possible. And you can do that through the content that you put, the way that you let other people talk about you, and versus you talking about yourself. And also things like the site, the performance and experience. As you saw a little bit with this last one, like, there's a lot of beautiful things about the site, but we weren't able to have a good experience because of just how some of the things were clashing with each other, at least in our take on it. And then last is making sure that you have a clear call to action, where you think about what experience do you want your visitor to have, and then as and what paths do you want to take them on. Awesome. So we have a couple of resources that we'll jump over to, Nöelle, and I'm going to bring your screen up and you can talk us through those, and then we'll wrap up and then transition to Q&A. Okay.
So I've got a couple of things I would like to share with you guys. The first one, this is my go-to heat mapping tool, especially for clients who are looking to start maybe on a free plan to experience how powerful a tool like this is. For those who don't know, here is what a heat map looks like. It maps where somebody clicks, and so the cooler the color, the less clicks, the warmer the color. It's called like a hotspot then. It allows you to take recordings, so you can see, of course, it's all anonymous, but you can see the path somebody takes. You can see them lingering somewhere, which might indicate that something is not clear. Very, very useful. You can use it to run surveys on your site or ask for feedback. So that's also super useful. And yeah, it's just such a powerful tool. Like if you, Google Analytics is great. You know, it's very important to know where do people come from, how long did I stay on the site, how many do convert, etc. But this is about how people use your site, which is, you know, secretly as powerful as far as I'm concerned. Then the next one is my go-to reviews plugin. It's nice because you can have it combine reviews from different sources in, say, one slider, like this, for example. You know, that's very well done. It has some features that other plugins don't, like the amount of reviews it pulls in from Google. That's been quite a tricky one to find. Nice. But yeah, it is really well done. And just out of the box, like if you're looking to quickly embed reviews on your site, this is great. If you're looking for something you're looking to customize and completely match the look and feel, this is great as well. So out of the box, it works fantastic. And I love that people can leave a review also right there and then. And then last but not least, because we talked about performance, this article talks about how to run a speed test. So what kind of tools you can use and the pros and cons of each, but also the approach you should take to make sure that your test is accurate. So doing it from different locations, for example, if your business is international, making sure that your CDN, your content delivery network, is on, and all these kind of things. And then these tools will help you give an insight of, hey, maybe your images are too big, or something on that page is now is taking up a lot of time, and then you can work on that and improve it bit by bit. This article will be really helpful on that journey.
Perfect. Those were great. Awesome. Well, that is a wrap for the first part of this episode. Thank you for joining us for this. Next week, we'll be doing this at the same time. We'll have some new topics. We have a bunch of different topics to choose from. We've had hundreds of submissions so far, which is fantastic. So we're still sorting through those. And we will put a link on meetup.com where you can RSVP for the next one. We'd love to see you there. And as you guys have ideas and suggestions for what you'd like to see covered, just let us know. You can leave comments however you'd like. We'd love hearing from you. And that is a wrap. And we will transition now over to Q&A.